All right. Welcome into another episode of Off the Leash. I'm Ashley Holder. That's Leah Doherty, OBR's Fred Greetham, and the one and only Mark Schwab is all in the building today. Week 10 of the NFL football season. The Browns coming off a bye, and it absolutely did nothing for them. They took on the Jets today, lost 27-20. If there is a team that can do anything to lose a game, boy, it is the Cleveland Browns. Two huge penalties on the final drive that just gave this game away, but it was honestly already lost by the time that it was lost by the first quarter, so it's just, I mean, there's so much to talk about. 10 penalties. They lost in almost every category today. Honestly, we can start anywhere, guys. I don't know where you want to start because there's so much to talk about.
When I came into the sports office today, I looked at Mark and he was like, yeah, this is kind of how it's been for Cleveland fans, but it still surprises me. They find new ways to lose. Like, I thought, hopefully if you're listening on a podcast, like I'm showing my hands up like this, like they go lower, they find new ground floors, like ways to get worse. Yes. Than I thought were even possible. And maybe that's because I haven't been here long enough to where I feel like y'all have just seen anything and everything that can go wrong. So maybe you're not surprised anymore. But I was driving into work and I was listening to the call of the game. And to hear that Cam Thomas jumped off sides, like, how? The lack of discipline with this team to where the Jets aren't going to run a play there and they're just trying to get you to jump off sides. How does that happen? That's my question. And they say yes, it never boils down to one play, right? The loss of the game doesn't fall on just one guy. A lot of guys looked bad today. They all looked bad today. But, like, how? How does that happen?
It's what they do. It's one thing to find a way to lose, which they're really good at. It's another to find a way to lose to a 1-7 team that just traded their two best defensive players and have absolutely no quarterback to speak of either. I mean, you didn't just find a way to lose to any team. You found a way to lose to the team that was arguably the worst team in football before the day started. And that's what the Browns found a way to screw up today. And, yeah, you're right. You're like, how do they keep doing this? At some point, you are just numb to this. Mm-hmm. This is who they are. This is what they do. This was a game I thought they would win. I thought they had a chance to win this thing. And they even the levels of stupid they found to go to are just unimaginable.
In writing, my lead was embarrassing. I mean, here's a team that clearly made a statement, we are trying to lose. We are giving up on the season because we want to make sure we have the number one pick because we want a quarterback. Or if we don't have the number one pick, we have 2 first-round picks and we can get ahead of a Tennessee or a team that won't draft a quarterback. And they went out and lost to that team. I wrote a story yesterday. Browns fans don't want to hear it, but this is a race to the bottom. The winner of this game might have short-term feel good, but in the big term, if they wanted to get a quarterback, they lost because in the tiebreaker. I really thought it would be the Browns winning the game. They lost. They now are tied with everybody that's looking for a quarterback, and we're only in the 9th game, so there's nothing really left to play for, at this point. Other than the only play left is when is Shedeur Sanders going to go? And Kevin Stefanski clearly said,
Not next
week.
But why?
Well,
that's what I don't understand.
He's stubborn.
And look, that's a whole nother conversation we'll get into. But actually, let's listen to Kevin Stefanski after the game today.
It's extremely disappointing, some of the moments in that game in terms of how that game unfolded. Obviously, you can't give up 2 return touchdowns that in the first quarter, and that kind of set us back initially. And then we just didn't do a good enough job in any facet. Just didn't do a good enough job, and that's a disappointing part for me and for this football team. But we're just going to keep swinging.
To what do you attribute the 2 kickoff return, the punt return, the touchdown?
You have to look at those, Mary Kay, to really find out. But anytime something like that happens, we have to do a better job. In all facets, we got to put the guys in position, then they got to go make a play in those. But special teams is so much of just, 11 guys doing their job, and we just didn't do our job.
So you look at some like the untimely penalties on offense and defense, the tripping call, and then late on the last drive. What do you have to say about that, and where does that kind of lie? Like, how do you want
Yeah,
to that?
listen, we'll, like I said earlier, Daniel, we'll win as a team, we'll lose as a team. It's never going to be about one play, but bottom line is we have to play smart. That's a key to this winning and losing.
How about just the fact that you guys gave up 6 sacks, 4 by Will McDonald? What kind of was the situation there?
Again, probably premature to say anything until I look at it, Mary Kay, but it's very typically a combination of things, whether it's offensive line, protection plan, getting open, all those things.
Are there times where you think like Dylan just isn't seeing it as quickly, and especially when you talk about some of those sacks that were taken, you think he's just like seeing the field quickly and clearly?
Yeah, not fair until I look at it, Daniel, but it's very easy to put sacks just right on the offensive line. We got to look at all of it and find ways to work together in those areas.
All right, first time all season that the Jets have had a double-digit lead, and it comes against the Cleveland Browns. Kevin Stefanski says he's sticking with Dylan Gabriel. I don't think that's a surprise. We were just talking a little bit about, the only thing you can really look forward to is the draft and Shedeur Sanders. But, I mean, I'm certain because I just don't know what else to say.
I have never bought in on like the Browns are just like out to get Shedeur and this whole narrative of like they're holding him back. Like I truly think they believe that Dylan Gabriel is the better quarterback. But now I'm getting to the point of why not? Like, do they really think he is so much worse than Dylan Gabriel and that's why they're refusing to make a change? Or is it because Dylan Gabriel's just a rookie and we want to give time for him to develop? But it's kind of like we've had a good sample size now.
I think they just think Sanders is that bad. Here's the thing. If Shedeur Sanders' name were Bob Sanders, would anyone be screaming for him?
Probably not.
Okay.
Well, this is what I was talking to you about earlier.
He's a fifth-round pick for a reason.
Yeah, but this is like the most anticipated backup battle. Or backup
Oh, you know what that
person
is?
that someone wants to
That
see.
is people buying into their priors. That is people reading 5 months of draft hype that commanded you to believe he was.
That's essentially what they did with Dylan. That's when they're drafted. I'm saying when they're
There
drafted.
was no draft
I'm
hype
talking
for Dylan.
the football zeitgeist that is screaming for Shedeur Sanders to play would not be doing that if his name were Jack or Bob Sanders. It's because they bought the priors. Your prior opinions about the guy before the draft, when you were commanded to believe this guy was a first-round pick. The entire NFL said he's a day 3 draft pick. Maybe he's a day 3 draft pick, and maybe he is that much worse than Dylan Gabriel. I'm not saying I absolutely believe that. I am saying the evidence is certainly there to say, yeah, maybe Dylan Gabriel is that much better than Shedeur Sanders. We will find out in time.
Right,
He's
and
going
that's
to play.
the thing. I feel like
we
have to find that out. We can't, because it's just going to be a back and forth battle.
The only reason I would say is like it can't get worse. So why not?
Oh, it can get worse. Oh, it can absolutely get worse.
Could it? Because a loss is a loss. Like, and they're gonna keep losing.
Dylan Gabriel threw 2 touchdowns today and 167 yards. We have seen far worse quarterbacks in this city than Dylan Gabriel.
The result was still a loss.
Well, yeah, but it could get. They scored 20 points. They might score 3 or 10 with a worse quarterback.
Have you ever thought about, what if he goes out there and throws 5 touchdowns?
I'm just saying,
497 yards.
What is the evidence to believe that's a reasonable outcome?
But anybody has to go out there and be able to prove themselves. He hasn't been able to do that. It just seems like Stefanski's totally against that.
The best thing that Gabriel did today was he used his legs and ran. He had 54 yards, and that was under duress. I don't know if the 6 sacks was the offensive line that bad. It's just a lot of good guys have been good for a while and are just aging now. But you clearly had a guy, the last I looked, Myles Garrett wasn't playing for the Jets. They traded their best pass rusher, and a guy named Will McDonald had 4 sacks today. 6 total. and Gabriel is running for his life, and he finally took off, which I think was the best weapon that they had. And so I don't think that they are against Sanders. I think they feel like he's got potential, and they just don't want to throw him out there and get him snowed under. At this point now, it's not about wins or losses. Right. So I say, this is my opinion, you're going to see a start next week against the Ravens, and then you very well could turn it over the rest of the season. They're at home again with the 49ers. But next week, the Ravens, we know how the Ravens defense can play. Mm-hmm. And the last time they tried a rookie quarterback for his first one was DTR, and he was obliterated, and they don't want that to happen because right now you have a chance maybe. You know what Gabriel is. I think, like you said, we have a good idea. The season's over. The last 5-6 games, see what you have in Sanders. And if you really feel like neither guy's the answer, you're going to put yourself now in position to draft another quarterback.
And I agree with that, but I also feel like, to what you were saying, you got to give him a chance to get out there.
I think he will.
And to see what he can do, you don't want to just throw him out there. But at some point, yeah, he has to play. It would be different if they were winning here and there and they were still, in the
They're
hunt.
losing 35, 42 to 35. Yeah, sure.
At this point, give him a chance.
Well, here's just some numbers today. The Jets, they lost the yardage battle, 278 to 169. They lost the turnover battle, 1-0. They lost the first down battle, 23 to 12. They lost time of possession battle, 34 minutes to 26. They were 3 of 11 on third down. They did absolutely nothing to deserve to win this football game other than return 2 kicks for touchdowns, which means the Browns' special teams have now cost them 2 games because they blew the Cincinnati Bengal game. They should have won that game, but they had 2 ridiculously easy kicks. They blew this game. The Browns' special teams are why the Cleveland Browns are not 4-5 right now. They are 2-7.
There's at least one other one. I think it was the Steelers. They had a block punt or something that ignited one of those games. Ravens or Steelers, they had,
Yes,
set
there was against Baltimore. It gave them a short field. I mean, think about that. Directly impacting 2 losses and heavily weighing into a third. They're 4-5 if they don't give up 2 returns for touchdowns in a game and make 1 of 2 reasonable kicks against the Bengals. 4-5. We're having vastly different conversations at this point. But because the third facet of the game, which you only notice them really when they make a really big screw up or a really big play, because if they're in the middle, they don't really pay attention to them. Well, they've cost them a lot of games and a lot of points. And 2 returns in 1 quarter? I've never seen that before. I've never seen that before.
It was a history thing for the Jets. They set nobody had ever done it.
No.
Listen,
And, one of the things, on the special teams, Bubba Ventrone, I like him a lot. He was a player here. I covered him. Kevin Stefanski did not fire Mike Prefer when the season was over. It went on, and all of a sudden, Ventrone, when they got a new coach over in Indianapolis, became available, and Stefanski fired Mike Prefer and made him assistant head coach. And to be honest, I like the guy, but I haven't seen very impressive special teams play since he's been here now.
That tells you something. That tells you that Stefanski was happy to keep Prefer, but he saw somebody he really valued come available.
And he had to make him assistant head coach.
Which, by the way, as you mentioned, we haven't seen anything. They stink a lot on special teams, and that looks like a huge whiff. Huge.
Right. A lot more to come here on Off the Leash. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with our true and false question.
Off the Leash continues. Browns 27-20 losers to the Jets. It was much discussed. There were 2 big things in the news this week for the Browns. Paul DePodesta left. I'm not really going to get into that. The news earlier in the week was that Tommy Rees would now be calling the plays instead of Kevin Stefanski. True, false question. Tommy Rees made a difference today.
I think we saw more creativity in the offense. I think there was maybe a slight improvement. And that's the thing what we had just talked about, Dylan Gabriel, and are they going to make a change at quarterback, and when are we going to see Shador? If there aren't those 2 huge special team blunders,
they win.
We're not calling for Dylan Gabriel to be benched. We're not saying let's do a shakeup. Let's see what we have in Shador Sanders. And so that's what's frustrating too. It's like it's not the offense did enough to win. Like you said, they should have won this game. You read all those stats, everything the Browns won in those categories. So, there was slight improvement in the offense, but it's kind of like you have a sinking ship and you're trying to put a Band-Aid on one hole and then another one
you're just plugging
comes up.
holes.
That's kind of how I view the season.
I probably say false just because, he handed the play calling abilities over last season and they were still 3 and whatever. So, there was some creativity, and I think you get that.
Jerry Jeudy's first touchdown. Excuse me, Ashley.
Okay. Shout out to Jerry Jeudy.
She's criticizes him every
week 10, we get a touchdown. Shout out to Jerry. What was it? His season high receptions.
Yeah.
6.
The 6, right, Fred?
It's
Do you have it
6.
in front of you?
6 for 75 on 12 targets.
Season
though.
high.
That's-
Yeah.
I want to send a special shout out to Jerry Judy. Shout out to Jerry for the play he had today. But I just feel like it doesn't really matter because it's the end result. The team is not good. So it's like, yeah, you get a little creativity, but I think, Fred, if you called plays, I think you might bring some creativity. Leah, if they put you in there, I think you would. Mark, I'm sure you'd shake some things up. I mean, I just don't think it really matters with them because I don't think they have a solid team. I think they have a fairly good defense. I'm not sure what happened today, but yeah, I don't think it really matters. But for the rest of the way, I do think it should still stay with Reese because we know what Stefanski can do, and it's just not working there.
I would say true from the aspect he was asked to call plays and show some improvement. Whether he got Gabriel to run a little bit more, he had him rolling out a little bit more, and so there was some positives there. He got Corley a little more involved, who's having some of the bigger plays. I think you got to get more. You got Judy involved, so clearly some of the tasks that were given to him came to fruition. And again, we keep going back to the special teams. This was a typical game. This is the way the Browns need to play to win. Good defense. They would have won 20 to 13.
Yeah.
That was the game, you know. If they tackle them on the 1 yard line on both of those kick returns, they probably would have held them to field goals, you know. And so that's what's the frustrating part is that's the way the Browns have to win. It's not going to be explosive, but do enough to win the game, and they didn't. But I think Reese did what he was asked to do. It should get better. First game as an NFL play caller.
I would say true. I think some of this is, of course, because they're playing a bad football team, but 12 targets to Jerry Jeudy. We can say what we want about him dropping passes, but 12 targets to Jeudy, 18 to receivers overall, and this team just, for whatever reason, I mean, was at its absolute worst against New England, but they never threw to the receivers very much. And I understand it's a tight end heavy offense, and your best player on offense is probably your running back. But at some point, the guys spread out wide need to be thrown to. You have to attack boundaries and try to get downfield. You mentioned the Gabriel times he would pull it down and run it. And Corley was a little more involved. The first run he had was like exactly the same play. I think we saw him rip one against New England, but then they went back to it. And they threw to him, I think it was at least once or twice. So I would say true. I would like to see him now continue to do it against a team that's not, at the time, 1-7, now 2-7. But they did some things that NFL offenses are supposed to do, and I'll say true, he made a difference. Let's hope it lasts.
Yeah, I think when you look at Tommy, he has been able to call plays prior, even though it was back in college. They do need something young, fresh. I think these are guys that can relate with him maybe a little bit more, you know, outside of Kevin Stefanski. And we also don't know if the locker room has lost Kevin Stefanski. I mean, we can read the reports. We can go in there. No one's really talking too much about it. Jerry always looks upset when he's up there. Miles is kind of, you know, he's that mellow every time. Dylan, he's bringing some quotes out or whatever. But you never really I really can't feel where this team really sits and if they believe in Kevin still. But that's a whole nother conversation. But I think that that Tommy was able to bring some new flavor and I think it will continue to get a little bit better. I mean, hey, they got 20 points. That's big. That's big for the Cleveland Browns, guys.
Should have only given up 13.
On Kevin Stefanski, I like the guy, but this goes back to last year. The undisciplinedness of the penalties is on the coach. I mean, these pre-snap penalties we talked about all last year. Well, this year, I mean, today's game, Devin Bush on 3rd and 16, holding when they're not going to throw it. They're just trying to go down and then jump off sides, and you just don't see any cleaning it up, you know, the penalties.
And you would think that, you know, off the bye week, you might just be a little bit more disciplined, but that was not the case. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to look ahead at the Browns schedule. All right, welcome back to Off the Leash. All right, so it doesn't get any easier, we'll say, but it necessarily doesn't get that much harder either. So next week they will have the Ravens at home. That's a 4:25 kickoff. Then they've got the Raiders on the road, another 4:05 kickoff. And then they're back home, 2 games with the 49ers and the Titans. And then they've got the Bears on the road, Bills, and then the Pittsburgh Steelers and Bengals. That rounds out the rest of the season. But the next 3, you're looking at Ravens at home, Raiders on the road, 49ers at home.
I'm expecting like a curb stomping next week.
Pain, and
I'm
more
expecting
pain.
What did
pain.
Jameis wants to say? It was pain.
Right,
Pain
that's how I
everywhere.
feel,
Pain,
yeah.
pain.
Pain. Yeah, I mean, I know Baltimore. Listen, they got off to a terrible start, and I was right there saying, look, they're 1-5, but they didn't win a lot when they had Lamar. They are what they are, but they appear to be getting things together and starting to look like the Ravens you are accustomed to seeing. They're now up to 4-5. Lamar is back. I know the game is here in Cleveland. I don't see any reason to believe the Browns will be effective enough in this game to win it. Clearly, I would love to be wrong so we can have a fun conversation after the football game.
I think it's kind of crazy when you look at it, too, because you were talking about the Ravens right back in it. I feel like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, we were looking at this, and the Ravens were like 1-something,
Well, the
right?
division was open.
Right, wide open. And then you turn around, you still got the Steelers at 5-3 leading the division. Then Ravens, like you said, right back there, 4-5, Bengals 3-6, and then Browns, don't even matter at the bottom of the division at 2-7. It's just crazy how quick, like you were saying, 1 or 2 games could have had you in a totally different position. But, yeah. So, Ravens at home, what's your thoughts on that, Pred?
Right now, I felt those 5 games starting today, you had a chance to get back in it because the division was so bad. You shot it completely. You have to win 7 out of the 8 games to have a winning record. So you're not going to make the playoffs. So what does it matter if you win 1 game or 2 game other than it ruins any chance if you're going to go draft a quarterback next year, even if there is one available.
Right, that's the thing.
So they're not going to win next week. I don't see it.
I hate all the doom and gloom, but I agree.
I was very positive last week. They had they had 2 1-win teams and 2 2-win teams on the schedule in the next 5, and they lost to the easiest one today.
Lost to the worst of the bunch.
I think the only type of positivity we can maybe have next week is if special teams isn't just catastrophically horrible. We'll say that's an improvement from last week, and then we'll get a fair shake and see what Dylan Gabriel and this offense have, and then we can truly put that loss on them, because today it's hard to put that loss on him when you have those jumping off sides at the end, the special teams costing them 2 touchdowns. But if they can play a relatively clean game, then, that's some improvement.
You guys have been a part of and covered an 0-16 team.
Yeah.
Like, what is there to play for at this point? I mean, I know there's only a couple handful of teams that have had to go through that, but at this point, what really is there to play for?
I mean,
how do you get the motivation?
You shift them. I mean, what is there for the players to play for?
I mean, yeah. I mean, technically, you're just playing to play. I mean, like, younger guys, I get it, but like, someone like Myles Garrett, you're just playing for your sacks, essentially?
Myles will go all out. I don't doubt that. Myles, yeah. I don't think he's ever
I'm
quit.
just saying, like,
but
mentally from a standpoint.
The regular guy, I mean, sure, there's at some point you probably have some guys that check out. Young players are playing to be evaluated. There are a lot of young players on this team. But yeah, this is what you get into. This is where Browns fans are at with their team many times.
Wait till next year.
A lot of wait till next year. You're starting to talk about who's going to be the guy in the draft. You're starting to look at other teams. Are they losing? Did we move ahead of them in the draft order and this kind of stuff? And, I mean, like a loss like today totally cements it. Had they won today, you're at least 4-6, and you're not going to go – it's not the charge of the light brigade or anything, but you don't feel like you're in the running for a top 1 or 2 pick. Well, you just lost to a 1-7 team who traded arguably their 2 best players. And yeah, there is little to look forward to at this point other than how high can we be picking in April. The draft will be in Pittsburgh next year, so it's not far for us to go to talk to the newest member of the Cleveland Browns in April.
I was back in '85 when Bernie Kosar was a rookie. In the second half of the year, they put on a run. They were 8-8, but you knew this team was heading in the right direction. That's what you got 14 rookies you're playing, and another quarterback to look at, a rookie, to see if you have it with one of them.
All right, well, another disappointing loss for the Cleveland Browns today. They lose to the New York Jets 27-20. We'll be back next week to do this all over again for Ashley Holder, Leah Doherty, Fred Greetham, and Mark Schwab. Have a great day. We'll see you next week.